guys, welcome back to Real Life Estate, where we are real people doing real things in real estate. Our mission is to strengthen the community through equity and assets, one door at a time. Today we're going to be talking about first purchases in investment property. Actually, my first dive into real estate was my purchase of my single family home. I was young, so I had to do the deal creatively. So I knew that there were companies out there that would build a house if you own the land. So my gap was getting the land so that I could go and get the house. So what I did, I went into the local bulletin and I saw that there was a property being listed, a half acre for $5,000, and the owner would finance it. So I called the guy up. I went out, looked at the land, saw that there was an area that's big enough to put a house seat, and he said, I'll finance it for you. I need a few $100s down. I think I put around $800 down, got the title or the deed to the property, and went and visited the home builders, looking at models that they had there. And the lady said, would you like to run the numbers? We'll see if you qualify. So we went in, sat down, got the numbers, and qualified to buy the house. So that was my first purchase in real estate, was the single family home. And I'll tell you why my view differs from that in some future videos for what you should do right now if you're a young person and you're thinking about getting into real estate. There's some other ideas about that, but I ended up purchasing my first real estate investment property about 20 years ago. And there was a small house. It was 2-bedroom, 1-bath, cottage style house built around the 1950s, and the guy was asking $17,500 for it. So I called him up. We meet at the property. I look at it. It's older, it's dated, but it's in good shape. It's been well kept. Just some dating issues like paneling, old pine wall paneling and things like that. So he asked me about financing. I said I can get financing. He said we'll do 30 days. Let me know how you're progressing, and we'll go from there. So I called this local lender. They dealt in small loans. They were actually a broker, but they did have a mortgage department. So I went and talked to them about the deal. They looked at it. They said, okay, we value this property at about $56,000. They said, so what we'll be able to do, we'll be able to get the purchase done. We'll also put some money in escrow for you to do the repairs, and we'll get it set up for close. So day came for closing. I go there, I meet, the guy shows up, we get the deal done, get everything inked, and I go out to the property and I see that I do need an AC unit. So I took bids on that. Everything I was getting was over $7,500. So I only had $10,000 to work with. So I actually called the guy back that I purchased the property from and told him, I was like, this is what I'm looking for. And he said, yeah, I got a guy. So this guy came from the next state over, put in a brand new AC unit for $2,500. The rest of the property was just painting, little cosmetic things that I ended up doing myself on the evenings or weekends to get the house ready. My plan was at that time to rent it out. So once I got that done, I rented the property out. I had some people call me, and they, and through talking to each other, when meeting them at the house for them to look at it, they mentioned that they lived in a town not close from where I used to live. So it was some familiarity there. First mistake, I did not pull references on the people. We just had the warm and fuzzies. Not good in real estate. So I didn't check the references. They ended up moving into the house. It went well for about 4 months, perfectly. But the 5th month, I didn't get a rent check. So I ended up calling, couldn't get a call back. I rode by the house. Everything looked okay. The grass was still kept. Didn't see a car, but still hadn't gotten a call. Waited another week, passed by, came back to the property. The grass was grown up. This time I looked at the garbage pail, or the garbage bin lid was open and trash was in it. So I knew that trash had not been picked up, so which means the water's off to the property. Nobody's at the property. So I go and I knock on the door. Nobody answers the door. I call the locksmith. We get access, go in, and the house is completely trashed. Just done. Not from the standpoint of any physical damage, but just clothes and junk and garbage and food in the kitchen, food still in the refrigerator, and the power's been off probably about 3 to 4 weeks. And the same thing for the restroom. The water was off, but it was still in use. So I leave the house, I go outside, I'm utterly disgusted. Point number 2, don't get emotionally involved with the property. This is a business. Don't get emotionally involved in the property because this is what can happen. So I was utterly disgusted. I called the guys like, look, I need to sell this house right now. I don't ever want to go back in there again. I call them up. I call some cleaners. And what I would suggest, if you're feeling emotional about the house, and you won't know till it happens, because I said I knew that I shouldn't be, but I was. I think because of the time I put in there, it was my first deal. I want everything to go great. And you thought it was going to go great and it doesn't go great. You need a fail safe. So what I probably should have done, knowing that now, I would have opened that door, saw that, closed it, called a cleaner, and say, hey, I need this house, trashed out and cleaned before I go take a look at it. But hindsight's 20/20. So what I ended up doing is calling a guy. I said, had him list the house. We did have it cleaned out, and I ended up selling it for around $54,000. So if you do the math on that, we purchased it at 17. We put 10 in it, so we were in it for 27. And we didn't spend all that 10. We only spent 25 on the AC unit. So that was cash up front. So we're in 27, and then we ended up selling right at about mid 50 range. So on that deal, turned into a buy and hold real estate, then turned back into a flip. We probably made right at $20,000 on that property on the first real estate deal. So that was my first deal. Enjoy these next clips coming up. Remember to like and subscribe. If there's you're getting any benefit from this channel, or if someone needs this information, please forward it to them. Or if there's things you'd like to see, please comment. But enjoy the next coming clips. Have a great day.
What age did you get into real estate? Well, that depends on what you mean. I mean, actually hustling real estate, I actually started, I kid you not, at around 14, my cousin was remodeling stuff with my brother, and they took me to work and handed me a friggin' sledgehammer and said, tear out these goddamn walls. And the walls were like 100 years old. They were made out, it wasn't even sheetrock, it was lath and plaster, and the studs were like the petrified forest, and they had me busting down walls in big old Victorian or whatever houses in Westchester. Then I went in the Army at the age of 17, and in the Army in Germany, I made friends with this guy that knew there wasn't enough space on the military base to rent all the soldiers, so we had a housing assistance office. I'd hang around the housing assistance office, looking for guys coming over and looking for apartments for rent outside of the military base. I'd get them, I'd bring them to the guy that had the apartments, the German guy. He'd rent them something, from a German. He'd make a fee from the guy that owned the property. He'd make a fee from the soldier, and he gave me a big, nice kickback. So I did that a couple of times a week at least. So I made extra money while I was in the Army, hustling apartments to GIs in Germany. Then I didn't get back into real estate until the Army sent me to California. Then I went back to the bottom, picking up garbage for Mark Wilton. That's how I got into real estate. 14, 17, and 21. And I'm here still. I'm still standing. Well, not really, I'm sitting. How did you make your first 50K USD? The first 50K I made, it was exactly 50K. Exactly, the first 50K I made was me and my partner, Mark, who used to be my boss. We did our very first deal. It was only 4 apartments. He gave me the money to buy it. He gave me the money to fix it up. I found it, I fixed it, I rented it, we refinanced it, and we made $100,000 on the refi. He got 50 and I got 50. Good deal for him, but it was a good deal for me because it was the first 50K I ever made. And what did I do with the 50K? I was supposed to give it to him to go into the next deal. And I tried, but he didn't want to buy the building that Carla lived in. He didn't like it. Nobody liked it. I was the only person in the entire city of Oakland that had the balls to buy that building. 7867 Bancroft Avenue, back in the 1990s. It was a war zone, and nobody wanted to touch it with a 10-foot pole. The city boarded the building up. There were flowers all in front of the place of all the murders that took place there. And here's this poor little Mexican family living upstairs, hiding under the bed while the bullets were flying. every night. So I took the 50 grand and I made a deal with the guy who owned the paper on that building. He foreclosed on the old lady who owned it. She was wacko. I should have gave that money to Mark, but I said, well, I begged Mark to do the deal with me. Luckily, after I gave the guy my 50K, he held paper on the rest of it and gave me like a year to turn the place around. I went back to Mark. I said, Mark, check it out now. I cleaned out all the garbage out of it. He saw it was a solid building, and I started doing certain things, techniques I had to curb away the crime activity on that little block. Okay. And he came back, he looked at it, he says, fine, let's do it. So luckily he came in because I didn't have the money to fix it up. I only had the 50K to buy the place. So luckily he agreed, and then we did the other deal and he carried me on that one, so it all worked out. That was my first 50K.
Showing you the first house I ever bought. This is 1113, I forgot the address, it's been so long. 1113 Sheffield Street in Bel Air. I was so excited when I bought this place, man. I was jacked up. I'm like, I'm gonna get rich in real estate. I'm gonna get rich. Okay. Hey, and look, if I could have held on for 30 years, this was 29 years ago I bought this deal. No, maybe 27 years ago. I paid $78,000 for that house. I put $4,000 down. I told the bank that I was gonna live in it. I didn't. It's been a long time. I don't think they can bust me for that anymore. It's been long enough. And turned it around, put a little paint on it. I think it was yellow back then too, I don't remember. I was looking for that green, okay? Now the neighborhood has changed a bunch since then. Notice they tore down, all these houses were little tiny houses like this, okay? See? But now that's a big house right there, okay? That house is about 800 grand today. This little yellow house that I paid $78,000 for, by the way, all this landscaping, that's one of the things I'm known for. I'm like, I'm putting trees up there because that's going to give me some extra rent. It didn't, by the way. It did not, okay? So I remember, look, I was so excited. I went to the bank, lied to the bank, had never gotten a loan on a piece of property before. And he's like, well, what are you going to do? I said, oh, I'm going to live in the house. I just moved to Houston. I'm going to live here. Okay. I was so scared. I had never gotten a loan on a house. I'm freaking literally like shaking at the table. I was so worried about money that I put my financial statement, which I really didn't even know how to create that or what he was looking for. I put that on a two-sided form, okay? I was so worried about money, I saved paper. I literally printed on both sides of the piece of paper. Well, long story short, or like a girl that I used to date would say, a long story, she would say short. I said, you mean a long story longer? Makes me think about her because I met her here. I rented the place. I bought the place, got the loan, and I rented the place. I rented it, I think, for $680 a month. My payment was like $615 or $600. I'm making like $80, maybe $200. I don't know. It was nothing. But I was jacked, and it was good for the first 6 months. First 6 months, I made whatever I made, positive cash flow. I'm like, dang, I'm gonna hit it. $4,000 down, I'm making $100 a month, $1,200 a year. It looks like a 30% return, and voila, real estate reality hit. The sisters, the two sisters that were splitting the $700 a month, just got in a fight or something. They both move out. Place is empty. It's October, November, December, right? It's Christmas, and I'm stuck with this $600 payment. In the meantime, because I'm so gung-ho, what did I do? I went and bought another house. But this one I lived in. I'm thinking, man, I'm gonna buy the new one. I'm gonna use the rent from this one, pay the rent on that one. Look, it didn't work out like that, okay? I got terrified. This house right here, it looks just like the one I'd bought, okay? But we painted the other one yellow. We painted this one yellow. And yellow. And all I'm telling you this to tell you, look, don't make the mistake. Jumping too quick, jumping too fast. If I could have held on for 25 years, how much did we say that was worth now? $400,000. Okay, so the 70 grand is worth 5 or 6 times. Problem is I couldn't hold on. Okay, if you can't hold on, you can't hold on. So look, take your time with this game. Know the market. Okay, I bought price. I didn't buy the right location. That's why I tell all of you, wait till you got some money put away. Wait till you've looked at 100 homes before you buy your first one, okay? You don't need to jump hard, fast into this deal. This is a long game, okay? This is not all these books you read about zero money down, flip it, make a bunch of dough real fast. That's not what happens to most real estate people, okay? That little house, because the location's wrong on this street, it's hard to find it, people got lost, because it's hard to find it, it was the wrong location to buy in. Because if I take you about 6 blocks from here, I'll show you a block like this. Every home is brand new and they're all $3 and $4 million homes. So while that seems like a great deal at 5 times, 350 grand today, seems like an awesome deal. I can bring you 6 or 7 or 8 blocks from here. I'll show you the same house and it's $4 million now. That's where I should have bought. I should have paid the extra money, but I couldn't. I jumped too quick. I got a deal before I should have gotten a deal. I didn't do my homework, didn't do my due diligence, didn't have the discipline, okay? I went on the loan on a lie. Shouldn't do that. That's gonna cost you every time, okay? Every deal that I've taken a shortcut on in my entire career, every deal for 25 years where I took a shortcut on anything in real estate, end up costing me, every time. That's 78 grand. The one next to it was 78 grand when I bought it. I bought it for 74, 75, put 4 grand down, okay? A year went by, I had to sell the house. I got terrified, sold it for what I paid for it, snuck out of the deal, okay? True story. Now I'm getting ready to go up the street right now. I'm gonna look at, how many units we looking at?
428.
428 units. That's what I should have bought right from the get-go. It's 428 units, it's $58 million. Look, pay a little extra, just a little extra, okay? Get that income. Stay away from that single family game, okay? If you're gonna do this game, get in and get out. I know a bunch of you are being teased to do this right now. You're like, that's the way to do the deal. Get in, get out. Do not try to play the income game on that deal. Get in, get out, flip it, move on, okay? Or don't look at these and go buy yourself 16 units or 32 units.
Tell them the coincidence, Sheffield and Sheffield.
Sheffield, by the way, Sheffield, I'm on a street called Sheffield. That little yellow house is the first house I ever bought. And today we own, what's the name of the place?
Sheffield Heights.
Sheffield Heights in Nashville.
200 units.
Elena's thinking it's a big coincidence, but 200 units? 200 units in
First
Sheffield.
house on Sheffield,
Whatever.
and now we own 200 units Sheffield
Well,
Heights.
there's 4,000 units now.
That ain't a coinky dink.
I bought and sold 6,000 units now. I have to add this one to it, 6,001 units. Sorry if this was a little long. I'm just really passionate about it because it was my first deal. I know you're thinking about your first deal, and I just want to try to help you avoid making a mistake. God bless.